Hello friends, welcome back to Julie at Home. Today I'm going to talk to you about chemistry. We did chemistry last year, and so I wanted to give you my quick thoughts on how it went and share with you the resources that I used. Quick intro if you are new here. Hello, my name is Julia. I am a homeschool mom of 4. So this past year I had a 5th grader and a 3rd grader who I did this chemistry curriculum with, and I also had a pre-kindergartner and a toddler. We used REAL Science Odyssey, which is by Pandia Press, and we used obviously their chemistry curriculum. It's about chemistry. And the way I printed it all out. So I have it in this binder here, and it's kind of a mess now, but so I have all the pages in here, and I have a copier at home. So then I would just copy the extra student pages that we may need, so that I have a clean copy like all together in here, and then use the pages as we need them, and that worked pretty well for me. The way this curriculum is set up, this is the elementary level, so I think it's geared at I think it's actually geared at like 3rd through 5th or 3rd through 6th grade. I used it with a 3rd and a 5th grader. It has like an introductory kind of blurb or introduction that you read, or the student can read either way, on a lesson, and then it has several, usually 1 or more labs for each lesson. And so for me, that was a lot. My style is more on the reading side and less on the lab side. It's just for my personal preference. I love gathering information, and I do like doing some labs. I think they are very useful. But for me, as the homeschool mom of 4 and just how my personality is, setting up, doing the lab, cleaning up, it's all a little much for me. So I really want any labs we do to not be too complicated, not involve something like, that's going to make cleanup really hard, and also just be really relevant to what we're doing. And I don't need to do more than 1 lab on a particular topic usually. So that's my thoughts on that, but it might be completely different for you. And one thing I would love for people to take away from my videos in general on curriculum is that you can use the curriculum in the way that works best for you and your family. You don't have to do it exactly as it is written. You don't have to do it how I do it. You do what works for you. That is one of the great things about homeschooling. So please adjust things to you because you can. But going on about Pandia Press REAL Science Odyssey chemistry curriculum. So I knew that going in, that part of it didn't really jive with my style because we've done some of their curriculum in the past. And so I made a video on how I was adjusting the curriculum, and it involves bringing in more resources for reading especially, and then doing fewer of the labs, kind of picking and choosing which labs I was doing, and sometimes I adjusted some of the materials or supplies used for the labs or simplified some things. So I'm not going to go into every single detail of what labs I did and didn't do and what I substituted. I will include my lesson list. I wrote notes as I went, honestly, on it. And so I've been working on importing putting that back into the document, kind of editing the document to reflect what we actually did. And I'll have that linked below so you can take a look at what I decided to do. And this also has what I used lesson procedure at the top here, which is to read the lesson text, which is what is, in the curriculum, the little introduction, read a book if we have one, and then do a lab or activity if we have one. And I kind of made a note for lab reports to highlight hypothesis, procedure, and conclusion. I also made a separate lab report list. Now, I talked about at the beginning of the year doing lab reports, and I got my children each a notebook. These are the decomposition books that I like, and we used them for that purpose. They were their lab books. I also had them write down definitions of words as they went. So obviously this is the first page on chemistry. And then we did kind of a combination of writing in our own labs. So like you can see, this is like a telling things apart lab that is it's a lab that's in the curriculum, and they have lab sheets in the curriculum, so you don't have to do it this way. So we did a combination of that, writing it out ourselves, because I did want to try doing that and have them practice writing out a lab report. This is it continued on there. And then we did also use some lab sheets, and so I had them just cut them out. There's like a line around them that makes it fit in these notebooks really well. So they cut them out and glued them into their books. So that's how we used that. I am now just going to jump in and show you the additional resources that we used and maybe some thoughts on them. The first thing I want to share are these. There's this series that's Explore, and I have 3 of them. I started with 1 and then I bought more as the year went on. And the one we used the most was this one, Explore Atoms and Molecules. And these books, I really enjoy them. So they have, I'm trying to, if you want to look at the content, it's probably, they generally don't have too many chapters. This one has 6 plus an introduction. They have these for all different topics. And, well, science, mainly science and history as well. And then, so they'll have, you know, a short chapter on whatever that is. They have, you know, information, and it's short enough that it works for 1 or 2 lessons depending. But it's longer and more information, more in depth than I was getting from the curriculum. So that's why I decided to add this on, because I felt like it was giving us more information. I think it might be aimed at a little bit older. I don't know if it says how old this is aimed at, ages 7 to 10. So I think it's, I mean, that's around the same age. So I guess what I would say to that is then it seems like it was like more mature and aimed older than the Real Science Odyssey curriculum. And it might be that Real Science Odyssey to me maybe was a little bit more dumbed down than it needed to be. Like it could have been a little bit more of a fulsome explanation. And then there's some projects at the end, which again, we didn't do all these, but I did a handful here and there that I thought looked fun. Occasionally in some of the books, they'll also have, you know, like a snack that you make or some sort of art kind of activity as well. So I really like these books. I also used solids and liquids and chemical reactions. Now these last 2, I only used like I think a couple chapters from each, whereas I'm pretty sure we went through the whole thing of this one. There was some overlap in some of them. So I obviously didn't repeat the things that were overlap. I actually like these books so much that I am using versions of these for science this year. I'm not using a different curriculum. I'm using these as a spine, not these specific ones. I'm using ones that are physics. We're going to be doing physics ones. And then making a little small unit like around one of these books. So that's how much I like the series for science. I don't know if it's as good for history, but I definitely recommend for science. This was one of the things that I think we used the most out of our resources for chemistry this year. Next is periodic table books. So there's a whole section of the curriculum, a whole unit, I guess, inside where it goes through you know, introduction to the periodic table, where they, you know, play some games with it. And we added some stuff on from our atoms and molecules book as well. But it goes through the most common ones. It doesn't go through all of them, but the first, like, I don't know if it's 26, somewhere in there. I don't know if I can't remember exactly. It's been a little while. So it goes through them. So when we were doing that, we actually would look up whichever ones. It was usually like 2 or 3 in one lesson. And we would look them up in both these books. Now, I liked both of these books, and I don't know if I liked one better than the other. I don't think you need both. I have a tendency to get more resources and materials than I need, and like the research in me wants like more than one source, because if you know you want to verify things, but practically, and I'm trying to keep this in mind for this year, when I'm homeschooling, we don't need to give ourselves extra work. So either of these, one will be fine, just to learn a little bit more about the specific element. I also want to recommend a YouTube channel in here, and that's Periodic Videos, I believe is what it's called. I'll have it linked below, and it should also be on my outline, or my lesson list as well. I don't think I listed it for each lesson that we may have used it, but it's just in like the resources. And I did it for some of the elements, not all, but they do have a video, I believe now, and sometimes more than one for each element. And I think it's from the University of Nottingham in England, and it's very cool. They also have some really great videos of like elements combusting and reacting in fun ways. So we actually watched those more so than just the element videos, because that's not something I'm going to recreate at home, right? That's not, I can't get my hands on the elements and it's not safe. So that's a really fun thing to add on because they do some really fun things. Now, if you watched my video of the chemistry curriculum before we did it, I did talk about how the book has the kids do like an elements book. When you're going through the elements, like they had a page for each one, and I didn't really like the format it was in the curriculum. And so I'd asked what other people did, and there were some really great suggestions of some really fun things people had did. So yeah, if you want to go look in the comments, go do that. But also, so what I ended up having my kids do after talking to them is they actually did dragons, because if given the chance, my kids will do something with dragons. So I'm trying to see a good one here. They're a little bit messy, but so this is like the hydrogen dragon. And so I had them, they could draw the dragon however they wanted, but I did want them to kind of put the drawing of the element there with how many, you know, how the atom would look. And that's before we went over how to spell atom, apparently. And then like write a few facts about that one. So like then back here is the beryllium one. She colored that one in. So they did this with just the ones that were, you know, reviewed in the curriculum, not every single element. There's quite a few in the periodic table. That's one of those things that like really it can be unique to your kids, your family. If you have more than one kid, they could even do different things. So however you want to do it, that's a fun way to customize it for you. Now I'm going to share with you the other books that we supplemented with. Most, if not all of these I think are picture books that we added on to the curriculum in various places. So we started with Mad Margaret Experiments with the Scientific Method, which was just a fun introduction to the scientific method that I wanted my kids to be aware of. So this is one I would recommend, and you could use it for different science curriculums that you're doing if you want to, you know, talk about the scientific method first, because it's something that's used obviously across different sciences. And then, more specific to chemistry, I have this beautiful book, Everyday Chemistry, which just talks about, you know, all the places in our lives that we see chemistry. So I really like this one. This is one that I would say, if you want to supplement with an extra chemistry book, definitely get this, and this will probably get added to my picture bookshelf. Then we have What is Chemistry, which is just, I wanted like an extra little introductory to chemistry, and I don't think this one was one I would necessarily recommend. Like it's fine for what it is, but I don't think it's necessary. And you could honestly probably find a better like little video if you looked on what chemistry is. Atom, it's an introduction to atoms, but it actually gets a little farther than that too. I would just say these ones I did at the beginning, but I think the rest of the books are not necessarily in order of how we did them in the curriculum, and I just paired them with whatever they went with in the curriculum, and I think they're mostly like listed on the lesson list with the lesson I did them with, so you can look at that if you want to know specifically. But anyway, Atom, obviously about atoms. And this is kind of a fun book, honestly. It had fun pictures. So it's about, you know, how everything's made of atoms. And then it gets into just like a little bit more details, like it goes into the periodic table and it just, and elements a little bit. So, but it was, yeah, I like this one. It's kind of fun. Then we just have some little ones here. This is what is density, what is mass. It's exactly what they sound like. And I did think it was helpful. I didn't think that the explanation in the curriculum was enough for me, but using the Explore books, I don't think I needed these along with the Explore books because it explained it a little bit more. But if you have like a preschooler who's really into science, these could be fun, like almost like the early readers. So it might be useful for that. Acids and bases. Again, it's kind of the same as the other ones, but I felt like I needed, like there was like a little bit of gap in explanation of it. So, and actually one of the Explore books might have explained it as well. So like this was another one that you don't need, but if you feel like you need to fill a gap, that's what it's for. Okay, these last 3 books I do recommend. So this is A Magic School Bus. This is Gets Baked in a Cake. And so it's about kitchen chemistry and chemical reactions. And this is a good one to read, obviously, if you're going to bake something. So that's super fun. It goes with the like chemical reaction stuff towards the end. And yeah, we enjoy Magic School Bus. I think this is the one is based on the TV show. So you could also, if you can find the TV show, you could watch that. I was trying to see if there's other chemistry ones on the TV show, and we didn't end up watching them. But there is season 4, episode 1 is Meets Molecule, and then season 1, episode 8 is States of Matter. So you could also watch those if you wanted to. I put that on my list, but I didn't match them with lessons, and we didn't end up watching them. But that is something you could do. Then we've got this, Let's Read and Find Out Science, What is the World Made of? And so this is a good introduction to solids, liquids, and gases. And it gets a little repetitive sometimes with some of the other stuff that I had, but I do recommend this picture book. I like this one. And this series in general is pretty good quality. I've liked everything I've gotten from this series. Then the last one is fun. This is Science, Matter, and the Baseball Park. I have a child who loves watching baseball. And so I thought this would kind of be fun. And it goes through like the different, the fact that like everything in the baseball park is matter, and the different kinds of matter in the baseball park. And I found this one really fun, and I highly recommend. So yeah, kind of get the idea there. Science, Matter, in the Baseball Park. I want to share 2 more resources that are not books with you, and the first is Happy Atoms. It didn't come in this container. This is the container I put them in. It came in a box, but this was an easier way for me to store these. So these are, trying to figure out the best way to describe these. They're atoms. They represent atoms. They do have atoms as well to make them up, but that's a whole different story. So this is a hydrogen atom, for example, and it's got its 1 electron floating around there, which is magnetic. And then you could get something like, say, a carbon atom, and you can, hang on, got too many things in my hands. Yeah, you can go ahead and connect them like that, and you can make molecules with them. So one of my favorite, easiest ones to do is obviously here we have 2 hydrogens and an atom, so we have H2O, or water. So we used these sometimes instead of some things, instead of some materials in some of the lessons. These worked actually better. When we got to molecules and stuff, I was able to use these for hands-on things. And then I did just have my kids like play with them a bit. And actually my younger 2 children still really enjoy playing with them. I just have to be careful that they don't like lose pieces. And comes with, well, it comes with a pretty big, it comes with like a partial periodic table kind of thing here of these are all these are all the atoms that are in there. So it's not all of the atoms, but these are the ones that come in the Happy Atoms set. So it's got the ones that you use most often and combine most often to make a lot of molecules. And then you can actually get like an app and scan things in. So it gives you instructions in this little book here, but you can get an app and then like take pictures of like molecules that you create, and it will tell you about them. And then there's also some information like in here, and it talks about the different kinds of bonds. So there's some here that, like this for example, has like 1 electron here and there's space here, and this one has like double coming out here. So there's different types of bonds, and this actually, like, you can use these to show that as well. So I really like them. They're a little bit pricey, but I feel like we'll continue to use these as well, and in the future too, as my children do well, I do chemistry with the younger set, but also as my olders do, like an older version of chemistry, especially my eldest is interested in going into a science, and so she's going to need to do more advanced chemistry at a later time. So we'll have this for her to play with, and as I like having physical materials for things, I find them really helpful. So I do recommend that. I found them really useful. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is a game. I love incorporating games and such, and that is Periodic, and it is a game of the elements. I really enjoyed this. We played it several times. You can kind of get an idea from the picture on the back, but basically you're moving around the periodic table and getting like different combinations of like saving different kinds of combinations of elements. It's kind of hard to explain, but I found it really fun. It was kind of a different gameplay than a lot of our other games. And yeah, my kids, I think my son, my third grader at the time was fine with it. My fifth grader, I think did not, it wasn't her favorite game. And I think she just didn't like that I was making them play a game specifically about the periodic table. She doesn't love being told what to do. So there's that. But I actually really enjoyed it, and I'm going to hang on to it. And this is, what is the company? Genius Games, I think, also has some other things. I think they have like cytosis on cells. And I want to say there's another one that I was looking at, I was eyeing, that just seemed like it looked fun to me. So anyway, I recommend it. Your kids may or may not enjoy it, but if you enjoy board games as a family, it's worth a try. Overall, my plan to do more resources and fewer labs actually worked really well for me. We had a really successful year in chemistry, and we completed it. I did end the year by asking them some basically exam questions. I basically just wanted to make sure that they were remembering and kind of review for them, pull back up information, and then I had them do them in their books. So they're in here. So actually I'll just read them to you just so you get an idea. What is an atom? What are the parts of an atom? What is the periodic table? Name 3 elements. What is your favorite element and why? Her favorite element, by the way, is xenon, because it's fun to say and spell, which is fine. What is a molecule? Name 1 molecule. What are the states of matter? What could indicate that a chemical reaction occurred? And what is the most interesting thing you learned in chemistry? And my daughter apparently liked learning that blood has a pH of 7. So there was a kind of a long section on pH. There were several lessons and different things on pH. We made our own pH strips, and you can see here this is painted and then marked on, blood is right in the middle. So apparently that was her favorite thing, which is interesting in and of itself. My main takeaways were, one, that my plan worked. I did enjoy doing fewer labs and having more resources. That I can simplify. I don't need quite as many resources and quite as many things going on. Again, I really enjoyed these Explore books here, and I will be talking about in a video soon how I'm going to be using them to create physics units. I think it went well. It achieved my goals. I got through a whole curriculum of science. I hope this was helpful for some of you. Again, I will have that document linked below. And as always, it's really individual to you and your family. So I, take all this and think about how it could work for you. Don't just copy what I'm doing unless that is exactly how you work as well, in which case feel free to take the resources. But yeah, really, I encourage you to think about what works best for you and your family. My next videos should be looking forward to this next school year that we are going to be starting in a couple weeks. So I hope you're ready for that. I hope you all are having a great summer or have had a great end to your summer. I know some of you are already starting, and if so, I hope it's going well. As always, I hope you are healthy and well, and I will talk to you later, friends. Bye.